Hi, I'm Christopher Munetsi, also known as Chris Sa Spaggetti. I deal with family issues, marriage issues, relationship issues, and personal development. So I major in counseling and family therapy, and I'm also aspiring to be a relationship guru who does mentoring of upcoming relationships and family issues. That's me.
Welcome. Welcome to the show. Um, Briefly, how did you get into counseling marriages and also working towards building relationships?
I'm inspired by my background because of how I grew up. You know, when you realize that there's something wrong within the family fiber, you start wanting to know, analyze, get to understand what's happening. You are looking at someone who's raised by a single mother, there is no father, and my mother is struggling here and there. And then you ask things like, where is my father? When you going at school and seeing other children being dropped by their father, and then you ask what is happening with my life or what's happening with me, and then you get to learn that life is full of different varieties because of choices. So when I am growing up, I made a decision that I want to be married and have one wife and also maintain that marriage and also be a father of my own children with one wife. And then I had to, first of all, tell myself what to do. Then I'm a role model of myself. Then coming to a decision of becoming a counselor, I noticed that many people are shortfalling when it comes to proper information from childhood, culturally and sometimes spiritually from churches. People are not adequately informed of the right information, even from the academic spaces. But when I then chose to be a counselor or a therapist, I was looking at a gap where people really need to be informed of what to expect to do and to empower people as far as decisions, direction of relationships, marriage, and personal development is concerned. That's what made me to end up getting into the field of social work, zeroing in into the psychology of marriage, family, personal development, and relationships.
Um, you mentioned of being raised by a single mother without the father. How was your upbringing in such a setup? What is it that was lacking, or should I say, what is it that made you to so much want to put a correction to it?
First of all, you are noticing your mother is struggling to raise you financially. And secondly, you are also noticing that at times when you are getting counsels from a mother in the absence of a father, she is telling you what she thinks men ought to be and ought to do, rather than from the real horse's mouth. You are getting what she thinks a man is. And sometimes you can be given a distorted information because of her disappointments, emotional instability as a result of their dispute between me and my father. And sometimes what was paining me is most times single mothers in the umbrella term some or most of them, they would not speak well of their ex-husband, who happens to be our fathers. So it made me realize that I think being justified, also in quotes, that she was disappointed. The single mothers end up speaking ill of relationships or of marriages, and sometimes they end up speaking bad to us as children. There are certain things that we cannot tell our mothers. For example, to choose which partner, if they move on, and how they should do their relationships. We cannot do that as children raised by single mothers. And also, if ever I can ask why she wants to move on, because sometimes some single mothers can move on in order to raise me, because probably financially she is lacking. So it becomes difficult for her to raise me whilst in the absence of my father, and she's not financially stable. Sometimes I would notice that when she moves on in order to get into a relationship, that will also help her financially. It will be difficult for me as a child to notice or to notify her as to what to do. And lastly, among many things, I noticed that as children who are boys, from my perspective, sometimes we react to what our mothers do. Because whilst she wants to find a life, I'm also there to find the reason why she wants to move on and not with my father. So it becomes very difficult for me to get answers when I am at that age, especially from my own mother. Why did you separate? And why should you want to move on without giving me answers? So it becomes a difficult life patch. So when you are growing up, you are reacting to her. You won't tell her what I don't want or I don't like what you're doing, but you are reacting to what she does. And then you become a drug addict, or you start stealing things. You become a naughty fanatic at school. You may become anything. You are reacting to life because you do not have proper answers from the setup of a single parent, something like that.
All right. From how you are relating, besides the financial aspect that you have brought up, what was the other major distortion that this scenario brought forth to you as a boy child who is not being groomed by a male and being shown how it is like to be a male, within this world? What were the challenges and what were the effect results that you actually experienced, and you see that you have a lot toward them to say, I don't really like this, I don't want to see another, me being produced out there because of ABCD. What was it?
Okay. It's always nice to be raised by own father. I think so. Because there are other patches of life where you just wish if ever my father was here, I would understand this better, or I will do this better, or I'll be here. And not only financial, but that emotional support, psychological support. You are being made into a man by your own role model. So the absence of my father made me to fail to understand my father's role model in my life, my father's input in my life, socially, culturally, spiritually, and emotionally. You would notice that in the presence of other children who will be talking about their fathers, you do not have anything to talk about. And people are breaking with their fathers, and you don't have anything. So it becomes something that is disheartening, that becomes a problem emotionally, and you develop anger. So whilst he is also absent, there are other things that I also noticed were detrimental to me. Things like when you want to go to places, you may not have your mother supporting you because she does not subscribe to those events that you want to go to, because she thinks you may go and go forever. You see, things like, can I go and visit my relatives? And because she has got a fight between my father, most times she had a fight with the relatives. So as a result, I can't go and talk to my relatives without her permission. So it would be a difficult scenario all the time. You may want to go, but if she does not want, you will not go. That becomes a blow in life. That's why you notice that when you are reacting, sometimes you are becoming rowdy. Sometimes you are tempted to be rude even towards her, because there are certain things that you want done for you that are not done because of her emotional issues and emotional vendettas with my father and the relatives of my father. So at the end of the day, you are nowhere to making choices aside of her. And if ever you think your father was there, you could be good to talk to your father and ask him if you can visit auntie so and so, and you can go there without any problem.
Okay, from all of this, what would you, or how would you describe being a father? What is a father from your perspective?
Being a father is a responsibility, unshaken responsibility. And being a father is knowing yourself and not to be shaken by other factors of life that can uproot you or take you away from your responsibility. Being a father is being focused on raising your children, because when you start being a father, it means they are children, and it means there is their mother, and you are responsible on three aspects rather. You are looking at the personal responsibility. You know you are a man, you know what you are, you know who you are, and you are a husband, you know your roles, you know who makes you a husband. You are a father, you know who makes you a father, it's your children. So if you are responsible, first of all responsible of yourself, you are responsible of your wife, you are responsible of your children. If you are not a focused, self-made father or husband or man, and if you are not responsible of yourself, it's difficult for you to be responsible of another person, later on your children. So being a father is knowing who you are, knowing what you are, and knowing how you function, and to what objectives of life do you want to achieve. So those are the things that make me understand, if you are a father, you are that, you fall into that category.
You also talk to those who get into relationships. and I assume these are teenagers who are yet to go into adulthood, right? From your talk with the young people, have they given a reason why they fall in love? What drives them to want to have someone else in their lives? And if they have, what has been the reason? Besides, of course, the sexual attraction and other things, what is the main thrust? What should be the main thrust of building a relationship?
Okay. My assessment and sometimes my observation and my research is, in most cases, people get in relationships because everyone gets in. People get in relationships because they want to create an identity. People get in relationships because they want to belong. So people, and some get in relationships because they want to have financial stability. They want to, especially for girls, they want to have financial stability. And nowadays, I think also guys are also getting in for financial reasons, because if for the sake of women empowerment, there are some women who are now empowered financially. So you'll find that there are also other guys who get in relationships because they've seen that this lady is financially stable. So, amongst other things, they want to get in relationships for sex, as you said. But as someone who has seen and observed these reasons, we also notice at the time frame at which they want to engage in these relationships. Getting into these relationships, wanting to have an identity, or wanting to belong, or wanting to be financially stable, is creating problems in most relationships when we're looking at time frame, at what stage they are getting in relationships. Some they get in relationships before they are ready for marriage. In as much as the ultimatum reason for getting in relationships should be, the end product should be marriage. So what should be the priority of getting into the relationship before time? I mean, what should be the reason for getting in relationships before time should at least create to understand what is a man if you're a woman, what is a woman if you're a man, so that you get to understand when you make an ultimatum decision to get married, you are marrying to this kind of idea that make you become a better person in future. One of the reasons that should be there is when you're getting into a relationship, you want to become a better person because of the relationship, and you also want to make the next person a better person, so that when we are talking about joy, happiness, which is subsequently one of the reasons why people should get into the relationship, you are able to give and you're able to get because you are equipped and because you are knowledgeable. I think that's some of the things that should be there in the relationship reasons.
I heard you talking about the spiritual aspect that encompasses the family build. I want to pose a question to you that I'm sure is somewhere based on the scriptures, where one of the apostles talks about if a brother who believes has a sister whom is in a relationship decides to marry or decides to make a commitment, as you're saying, the point of getting into a relationship, according to you, is ending up in a marriage setup. Is it possible to be in a relationship and not get into a marriage at the end of the day?
It's possible.
And what would be the criteria of such a relationship? What would be the basis of such a relationship?
Okay. It's possible. Looking at the issues of life, people nowadays are getting into relationships for different reasons, right? So I may say what makes people fail to end up getting married is not basically that they really didn't want to get married. They may decide to get into these relationships where it's just a friend-zone relationship because of the past experiences of love. They should create an impression and a spiritual goal of uniting together into being one, so that when you get into this relationship, you are working towards something. If you're in a relationship and you're not going anywhere, it's more like you are in an open relationship, like the popular terminology that is now used nowadays. And if we're talking in terms of spiritual aspect or from the spiritual perspective, we cannot talk of a relationship that just flows, not unto marriage. But we're talking of a relationship that is towards marriage. Because in the spiritual aspect, when two become one, they should at least learn, if ever, their spiritual aspects are in unison or they are compatible. I think I can use that word. If they are compatible, they are good being one, even towards the marriage and the relationship. And then I would state also the other aspect where nowadays people can choose to be in relationships and they decide not to marry. I can say these people have got fears of being disappointed. They have seen, it's either they went through disappointments or they've seen other people being disappointed by their spouses if they were married, or they were disappointed by their boyfriends. They went into multiple relationships and they ended up getting old and they are not married. So they end up concluding and they mount their fears based on those experiences. It's possible for a person to make a judgment based on other people's experiences and end up saying, if I get into a relationship, I don't want things that are going to trouble me. So I will not be married, because if I get married, look at so and so and so. They got married, it didn't last long. Look at so and so and so. So they've got a disturbed or a disturbed emotional judgment on relationship issues. That's why they end up arriving at those issues, at those decisions. Then the other issue that I want to also state, that I've also seen, is the issue of age. Someone can have a relationship, especially women. They can have a relationship whilst they have 2 or 3 kids. And it may be difficult for her to be married and go with her kids to that marriage, whilst the one who is marrying her has got his own kids. So it becomes difficult for these two to actually decide to really marry each other because of what will happen when they get married. So they decide to create a long-lasting friendship that even if when they get old, it's okay with them. And if they manage it well, it becomes a friendship for a long time.
Right. I think let's just take a short break, and then we can resume in a minute or so. Okay. Ready? Welcome to the second segment of Africa Light Talk Show. We have Sa Spaggetti with us today. Right, Sa Spaggetti. Let's get to the interesting part. You know, this is Africa Light, and we deal with young people, and the people that we have here, Abanem Bakona, ages range from 18 to about 35. Right. So, what brought you to Africa Light?
Okay. Because I am dealing.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No.
Because I am dealing with young people as part of my program. I was attracted when I heard Africa Light being presented on radio. That's Classic 263, I think so. So I was interested to be part of the organization and also come and contribute something that can add value to the organization. The fact that it's dealing with developing youths, especially in terms of art and culture, things like that. I was also thinking that if I can be part of the organization and add another value that deals with the psychological part of these youths, it would add value to the same youths that Africa Light is dealing with. And also, because I like working with youth, I also thought this is also my opportunity to reach out to more and wide range of youths out there, also using Africa Light as a platform of reaching out to them.
You know, Africa Light, the youth that we deal with are people of artistic backgrounds. Yeah, most of them are artists. Emotionally, for an artist, what would you say you want to look into particularly? Because remember, these people are artists. They are not your day-to-day, youth out there. These are artists, and these are people who are very expressive. They are people who are out there to express themselves.